Thanks for listening to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in American soccer. And don't forget to subscribe.
Hello and welcome, Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast. And yes, we are live here October 23rd, 2019, talking to you about MLS Cup playoffs. You know the drill, listeners. I'm Steven Jotter, and joining me down in Dallas is Arman, and up in Minnesota is Jake Watrova. Listeners, send in your thoughts at Uncle Sam's Soccer Pod. We want to hear them. The random questions, thoughts on MLS, everything in between, just send it our way at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod. Jake, Arman, how we doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. Arman, how are you doing?
Just okay, Jake? You got mice in your house.
I got mice. So, things have been better, so to say. But we're handling the situation. We're getting rid of them as best we can. Arman, do you have a mice problem?
I don't have a mice problem, but my eyes are already messed up because I have glasses right now, are hurting after watching a game behind a net for 90 minutes. So
who thought that was a good idea?
Dawn.
The New York Mets.
You think it's the Mets that said, nah, you know what?
They said you can play in our stadium, but you're gonna we can't take down the foul nettings because it's October, and we don't know anything about playing baseball in October, and that's why the Nets are still up.
Yeah,
I don't know where I'm going with that joke. The Nets suck. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, my eyes are hurting so bad. It's honestly an embarrassment for MLS. Like, seriously, what was that? Like, a bunch of nets? Like, they made the game borderline unwatchable. I'm gonna say it right now.
You really think it was that bad? I thought the pitch was better, though, than what it's off that is in Yankee Stadium.
Everything about Citi Field was good, except for the stupid net. If I have to watch a game behind a net, I would have been 10 times happier.
Well,
10 times.
10 times happier. Well, MLS at Arman Kafai, if they want to respond to.
Send me a jersey. Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, all right. Let's get to this game, guys. First game of the conference semifinals, and NYCFC hosted Toronto at Citi Field, not Yankee Stadium. And guess what, guys? The road team prevails. What is our instant reaction to this? Listeners at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod, send in your thoughts. But are we surprised?
I'm not surprised. I picked them to win. So, is Jake surprised?
I'm not surprised. I kind of pegged them to be I think a lot of people pegged Toronto FC to be the dark horse. So, but no, I'm not surprised because we've seen this for the last couple of years from NYCFC. The inability to win big games. I mean, Steven, you harped on LAFC so much during the season about how they can't beat the LA Galaxy. They, shriveled up against RSL last year. And I want to hear this take on NYCFC now, because this has been 3 years running where they're perennial favorites in the Eastern Conference. And then when the matches start to really matter, they curl up in the fetal position.
Well, let's take a page out of the NBA, guys. NYCFC was simply missing superstars. Yeah, they're a talented team. You can coast your way through the regular season. You'd be the Boston Celtics. Coast your way through the regular season. And guess what? When the time comes, when the lights get their brightest, NYC have failed. Yeah, they've had superstars in the past. Lampard, Pirlo, David Villa. But this club is increasingly becoming like their city rivals in New York Red Bulls. Failure in the playoffs. Red Bulls go 10 straight seasons, lose in the playoffs to 10 different teams. Do you know how impossible that is? 10 different teams in 10 straight years they lose in the playoffs. Wow. And then here comes NYCFC, right? Pretty damn good in the regular season through their first several years of existence in MLS, and they fail in the big games consistently. Guys, this is a problem. NYCFC have a loser mentality problem in the playoffs, and I have no idea what's going to solve them. Maybe they're better off playing away from home on an actual soccer pitch. Change it up for once. Be on the road. Because they're always a higher seed when it comes to the playoffs.
So are you saying they should lose? Like,
yeah, why not? Be the underdog. Be the underdog.
Right there. I don't know, man. I thought they actually played pretty well. I thought just some dumb mistakes. Both their goals that they gave up came from nothing. Can we be honest here? Like, can we admit that? They kind of had a not sharp first half, and they kind of got into the groove. They allowed an early goal in the second half, but for most of the second half, they had Toronto on their back foot, and they capitalized and scored. Go look at Toronto's first goal. I mean, come on, dude. It's like, you know, when you're playing, you're just heading a ball around, you're just messing around. That's what it's kind of like, and then they capitalize and score. All right, NYC gets one back. All right, cool. Against, I guess, the run of play, to be honest with you, Matarrita makes a rash challenge late and gives up penalty. It's as dumb as it's going to sound. It's just individual mental errors. I don't think they played that badly.
You're right, Arman. They did not play that badly. But, come on. The lights are the brightest. It's a big game. Toronto got lucky, sure. But that's going to happen. You need a little bit of luck in the playoffs. For every team, even the great teams. Regardless of sport, you always need a bounce to go your way. And NYCFC in the second half looked superb. They were on the front foot. But then you have an idiotic play in the 90th minute. I mean, Jake, what was your reaction in the 90th minute?
That was such a brutal challenge. I can't believe... I can't remember who had the ball for Toronto, who drew the penalty for Toronto there.
Lorea.
But he was, oh my God. To make that challenge in that spot was horrible. I don't understand why that tackle was even attempted in that situation. You have to know where you are in the match, late in the game, 90th minute. You cannot be trying to make tackles from tackling players from behind that late in the ball game. I mean, Arman, what did you think about it?
I couldn't believe it, to be honest with you.
It's terrible.
He started crying. Like, he knew exactly what happened. It was just such a bad challenge. Like, it was just not needed, like you said. It was just a horrible decision. You sit there and you're like, what are you doing? And you're like, wow, great job. I see you shot yourself in the foot twice. That's terrible. Man, that was a weird way to end that game. But I mean, I guess credit to Toronto, because Jake, I know we talked about, okay, like maybe we shouldn't be as surprised. However, they did it without Josie Altidore, that's pretty amazing.
Well, we said last week how if Josie Altidore wasn't playing for Toronto FC, we might be asking a lot of the team to go and beat DC United. And what do? Well, they
smash them.
They smash DC United. They hang 4 goals on them in extra time. So clearly this team can win without Josie Altidore, and we saw it against DC United, and we saw it again tonight.
I mean, I guess the real question here goes, does the regular season even matter that much? I mean, we harped. The reaction from the weekend was home field advantage, right? Crazy games, crazy scorelines, but the home team, majority of the weekend games, right? This past weekend was the home team. And here you have a home team not playing in their own building, get knocked out. They had a ton of days off. Toronto just played extra time in their 5-1 thumping of DC United in Toronto. So they were playing tired. They had a quick turnaround. They had to get to NYCFC. They, too, had to play in a building they've never been familiar with.
But Steven, think about this for a second. While Toronto FC may have been tired coming off a match this past weekend that went 120 minutes, keep in mind NYCFC also, I mean, they hadn't played a competitive match in almost 3 weeks, too. So there is some rust factor there. I get it. They went and played the Chicago Fire last weekend in front of nobody, which is like a regular season game in Chicago. Sorry, Chicago Fire fans. Shots fired there. But I mean, this team has not played in a match with any intensity for the last 3 weeks or so. So for them to come out of the game flat-footed and to see Toronto out on the front foot shouldn't be all that surprising to us.
Yeah, I mean, Arman, stadium playing away from Yankee Stadium, do you think that had an effect, big effect on NYCFC? And secondly, this rust factor, is it an unfair advantage that these, the one seed has so much time off that they're not in a rhythm of playing meaningful soccer, meaningful football?
So let me tell you this. I think first off, we did actually see the effects of Toronto playing 120 minutes, versus NYC having the week off towards the end, the second half. In the middle of the second half, I think we saw Toronto's level started to drop and NYC started to grow into the match and go for it. So I think we did see that, but overall, I think a coach has to be prepared no matter what. You have to keep your team prepared no matter what. If it's a 2.5 week layoff, well, you're gonna have to be ready. It is what it is. But with the field looked a little bit bigger. Honestly, you could probably say it probably played a little bit better. I think it looked nicer. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think NYC played fine. They just made key mistakes in the game. It's not like I'm trying to think of a game to reference. It's not like Red Bulls, for example, right? Red Bulls completely ran out of gas towards the end of their game, and they it felt like they didn't want to win the game from 60 minutes onward, right? But when I talk about a team like NYC, I thought they really played fine, guys. It's just those mental mistakes and just making those key errors, those key times really cost them. I don't know about you guys, but the result felt a tad unfair. But I mean, football is football, it doesn't
unfair. Really, TFC on the road, they grind NYCFC out. They get a fluky goal, and then they create two fluky goals. But I mean, you still have to credit them.
Right, yeah, you can credit them, but I feel like the result is still a little unfair towards NYC. But again, it's playoffs. Unfair doesn't matter, right?
Right. I mean, I guess the real, that we come back to this question is, did the better team win? And listeners, send in your thoughts at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod. We want to hear it. Your reaction to NYCFC versus Toronto. Are you mad? Are you an NYCFC fan? Are you angry with what you just saw? And if you're a Toronto fan, you must be thrilled. Conference finals after a failure of having last season, the way that went down. Here you come off winning the title in 2017, 2018 failure. Here 2019, I wrote you guys off. I wrote my apology letter, and here you are in the conference finals. Jake, you have the final word before we get to our first break.
Yeah, I'm not surprised Toronto FC beat NYCFC. I mean, yeah, NYCFC was favored in the East. They were the top point getter when the season was all said and done. But it's kind of one of those things where fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me. I kind of feel a little bit betrayed by NYCFC because I had them in Atlanta, kind of 1A and 1B in the Eastern Conference, and I should have known. NYCFC in the past has lost in big games, and I think one of you mentioned it. They are like their crosstown counterparts, New York Red Bulls, and they just choke when it matters most. And again, we saw it tonight.
Alrighty, we'll be back. We'll talk more NYCFC and TFC, and as well as get into this report by World Soccer Talk on MLS playoff ratings. Alrighty. Actually, listeners, we're going to talk about Seattle, Real Salt Lake, since that game is going to kick off here in, 20 minutes? And Arman.
Yeah, just about. Sorry.
Yeah, no, we had a question get sent in by one of our listeners, and he wants to know, this is coming from Jonathan Roz. I hope I pronounced that right.
My boy Roz.
Yeah, hey, 2 questions here. First of all, if you're an FC Dallas fan, who do you root for?
I mean, come on. I don't think that's a question. If you're an FC Dallas fan, you're RSL, right? You don't want to see Seattle win. Not your playoff rival. Come on, man.
All right.
Definitely RSL.
All right, and we'll save Jonathan's question here once the game gets kicked off. But guys, Real Salt Lake, Seattle Sounders, and in a very intriguing match. Reason being is Seattle beat RSL early on in the season, 1-0 at CenturyLink, and then when Seattle traveled to Real Salt Lake, they lost 3-0. And one important stat, just like the NYCFC Toronto game, Sounders coming off a match where they played 120 minutes versus FC Dallas, and that was an intense back and forth. Meanwhile, RSL in sleet, rain, snow, whatever you want to call it, only went 90 minutes versus Portland. So, Jake, RSL has been scoring apparently.
Yeah, which is crazy because I'm looking at their roster right now, and I wouldn't necessarily say they have a lot of I don't know if perennial goal scorers is the right phrase, but there's nobody outside of Albert Rusnak, who I don't even know if I consider an elite goal scorer in MLS. I mean, 10 goals is still nice, but there's nobody on that roster that you look at and go, oh, that guy's like a Carlos Vela, or that guy's like a Zlatan Ibrahimovic, or that guy's like a Joseph Martinez. And granted, those 3 I just named could arguably be the 3 greatest goal scorers in this league's history. But there's nobody on RSL that you look at and it kind of gives you pause, or somebody you feel like you have to the game plan around. Jefferson Savarino, yeah, he's nice. 8 goals, 5 assists. Like I already mentioned, Albert Rusnak, 10 goals. You have Sam Johnson, who has 9 goals this year, but I don't think he's scored all that much since the end of May. So it's just funny because, like I said, there's just not a lot of guys out there that you look at and you go, oh, that guy scares me. That guy is somebody we got to keep an eye on.
So what about this stat? Since the Gold Cup, RSL has given up... Oh, sorry. Now I'm an idiot. Never mind. This is an important stat, Arman. RSL 6-4-1 since the interim manager, Freddie... I'm going to butcher this last name.
Juarez.
Juarez. Is 6-4-1 since August 11th. But they are 1-2-2 in away matches. A win in Vancouver, losses at Portland and Minnesota, and a draw at Galaxy.
So, who was the guy who thought that RSL would be a contender? It's me, baby. I'm back.
Oh my god!
Really? Should we pop some bottles?
Really?
Should we pop some bottles?
I think RSL has a chance to knock off Seattle, and I'm not saying that because of my pick or anything. I just think, awkwardly enough, RSL is just a very, like I said, dynamic team. You have a potential. I mean, Jake, you mentioned they might not be household names, but a guy like Jefferson Savarino, Damir Kreilach, who had that amazing goal against LAFC last year, Rusnak. We can go through this. You have experience in the back with Nick Armando, reigning Rookie of the Year, Corey Baird. I want to see how they handle the overloads that Seattle had. We saw FC Dallas handle them, right? They put Reggie Cannon at right wing, and he was able to track back. And Dallas got burned. But I was talking to someone today, and it's not like Seattle did anything amazing in those goals, right? The first goal was a great individual effort from Raul Ruidiaz. The second one, it was pretty poor defending. You had Renato Ziegler to step up, header over the top, boom, Jordan Morris, I think, is there Jordan Morris or Lodero was through. I can't remember which one.
I think it was Morris, because Morris had the hat trick.
It was Morris. Well, yep. But I mean, looking at this, like, I think RSL is spooky enough that they can do it, that they can handle it.
You really love this spookiness. I mean, is everybody spooky to some degree?
It's Halloween, Steven. It's Halloween. Know your seasons.
No, not everyone's spooky. Not everyone's spooky. But I think personally, RSL is one of those teams that can scare you. And I think they have a chance tonight against a Seattle team who is dynamic, right? But they showed signs of, the armor cracking a little bit.
Okay, but Arman, defensively, right, you have to worry with Seattle. They have given up 2 or more goals, at least 2 or more goals, 10 in the last 15 10 out of their last 15 games.
Mm-hmm.
They are leaky at the back. And Jake, if you don't mind, pulling up the starting 11 for Seattle and RSL, as we are, more or less 15, 20 minutes away from kickoff. Arman, I know you think the upset could happen, but the Sounders have not lost a playoff match at home since 2013.
I don't care about those records, baby.
Hey, man, history tends to repeat itself.
I don't care about those records. I want to see it. I want to see a dynamic performance from this RSL team. And look, they had a gritty win against the Timbers. And you know what? Like I said, that 30 minutes, this is going to be the first matchup we're going to see, guys, where both teams played over the weekend. I want to see that dynamic as well. Do we see the 30 minutes that Seattle had, the extra 30 minutes Seattle had, affect them during the game as well?
What about mentally, how these players are going to react? Seattle gave up the lead multiple times against FC Dallas. Didn't completely give up the lead, but they allowed FC Dallas to enter right back in the match. RSL had a 1-0 lead. Portland comes back, and RSL goes on to win. But I'm not too certain that 30 minutes is going to make that big of a difference because guess what? Seattle got to stay at home. RSL had to travel.
Yeah, travel like how much, though?
That's fair, but it's still travel nonetheless. And since
we
the
need
goal...
Jake's take. We need Jake's take.
Okay, yeah, Jake.
I haven't heard Jake's voice in a minute.
I've been too busy looking up the starting lineups. I can give you a drink opening if you want that as a take.
I can give you RSL's lineup.
I can give you Seattle's lineup. I have the image right here in front of me if you want me to go through it.
I have the image right here too. I guess stand for RSL boys,
By the way, I just want to give a hand clap to the Seattle Sounders Twitter, their graphic. I really appreciate when teams
put the formation instead of what RSL did, which was just a guy, 5 guys in a row, and then 6 guys in a row, and it's like what's going on here? I don't know. This could be, what is this, a 6-5-0? Is that what we're playing? What's going on here?
No goalkeeper?
No goalkeeper? Why is Nick Romando in goalkeeping? It says he's playing in the back line. What's going on here? I'm just saying. But Arman, go ahead. Go ahead. Give us RSL's lineup.
So I'm going to have to do an alphabetical or in numerical order because that's what it's listed as. But we have Danny Toya, Kyle Beckerman, Jefferson Savarino, Damir Kryluk, Albert Rusnak, Nidam, I'm going to butcher his name, Onuai. That's wrong. Yeah, he's favorite QPR. Justin Glad, Corey Baird, Nick Romando, Aaron Herrera, and Everton Luis to round up the starting lineup. Let's hear how Seattle's lining up. Jake.
In the net, we got Stephen Fry. Working left to right is Smith, Kim, Torres, and Leardom at the back.
Can we pause there for a second?
What?
This is the biggest part for Seattle. If they can clean up this back line. Kim Hee was terrible against Dallas, and he's had a run of pretty bad performances. If RSL can pick on him, I think they have a pretty good opportunity to stay in the match and create opportunities for themselves. We know Seattle loves to allow goals to go in. There's the defender that you want to pick on. But go ahead, Jake.
Sure thing, baby. In the midfield, Christian Roldan.
You were waiting for that, weren't you?
I was waiting for that. Roldan, Svensson, followed by Morris, Ladero, and Jones to round out the midfield with Raul Ruidiaz starting up top for the Seattle Sounders. So,
hey, Arman, I don't know if you know this stat, but how well has Rudy Diaz been performing in the playoffs? Do you know? In 3 games, what do you think his stat line is?
Well, he had probably 3 or 4 goals, yeah?
Yeah, in 3 MLS playoff games, 4 goals, 2 assists.
Yep. I'm not surprised. I hope so. But to clarify, guys, I want to give you all the RSL lamp with actual formation instead of just reading off names. So in net, obviously Nick Raimondo. Looking at you're going from left to right. Aaron Herrera. Aaron Herrera is a key part in there. Looking at the lineup does not match up with the one on Google, so I'm going to have to go back and figure that out. But honestly, transitioning back to what we were talking about, Steven, I think you're right. The defense for Seattle has been leaky without Chad Marshall. I think we talked about that on the show. And you know what? I think that the offense of a guy like Jefferson Severino, of a guy like Damir Kreilach, who can occupy those spaces, can generate problems for the Sounders as RSL looks to go forward.
Yeah. This is going to be a fun matchup. I think we're going to see a lot of goals.
I think a lot of people are like, think it's going to be a boring game. I don't think so, baby. I think it's going to be a great game.
I think it could go one of two ways. Either it's extremely boring or it's a lot of fun because you're going to have a lot of tired players. And once players get tired, bad things happen, mistakes happen defensively, you could have just the floodgates open up.
Well, guys, since returning from the Gold Cup in July, the Mercer Island Magician has notched 9 goals and 6 assists from their last 13 starts. Can we talk about that for a little bit?
Jordan Morris, what a performance he had for himself against Dallas.
Jordan Morris is 1/4 Persian, just letting y'all know.
No, there you go.
Jordan Morris is a loser. I'm sticking by that tweet.
Why?
Why not?
I hate Jordan Morris.
I hate Jordan Morris.
He's done nothing. He's a great guy.
We don't stand Jordan Morris on this show, okay? We stand a lot of people, Arman, but we do not stand Jordan Morris.
No. You don't stand.
You don't stand Jordan Morris.
No, this is a united front.
He's soft, but he's been damn good. 9 goals and 6 assists in 13 starts. I like that. You have to be pretty happy if you're an American, knowing that one of your Americans is actually producing in your domestic league.
I wish he was doing it for the national team, though. But hey,
that's a conversation for another day.
That's yeah.
His goals were scrappy, though, guys. Like,
who cares? In the back of the net.
No. I'm just saying, like, there's a scrappy player. He's feasting on those scraps.
But that's your traditional U.S. men's national team striker, a scrappy guy that goes out there and puts in the back of the net.
So you're a Jordan Morris stan.
Yeah, I think he's good at the moment. Yeah, put him in the U.S. men's national team lineup.
Do you think he's the best player on Seattle?
Oh no. Oh, it's him. I think Fry makes a case for himself because he is spectacular. He's a big game player.
Is he Swiss?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yep,
there it is.
Bias. We found it.
All right. Well.
Okay. Hey, when are you gonna? Let me know about the Patriots too. Let's talk about the Patriots.
Let's talk about Patriots.
Okay, next segment, we'll talk about the Patriots. Listeners at UncSam Soccer Pod, we will get to your questions. We'll talk about MLS ratings as well as get more.
Players are walking out right now, guys.
Yes, players
it's
are
almost
walking
time.
out. Tune in FS1 for that match, as well as we'll continue our reaction with Toronto and New York City FC. Alrighty, we're back. And Jake, we got a certain DM about our message from a listener about Jordan Morris.
I didn't know me and Jonathan Roz. Is it Roz?
Yeah, Roz.
I didn't know Jonathan Roz and me were boys until now. But we definitely are boys now.
Yeah?
He agrees with me. Jordan Morris sucks. F you and your hat trick with a smiley face with sunglasses on.
Well, that's just the FC Dallas take in him.
Well, either or. I stand Jonathan Roz. We're boys now. So, yeah.
Guys, I had a quick question for you. When we watched, because we all did watch the FC Dallas Seattle Sounders match, John Strong repeatedly said on the broadcast that the atmosphere was just down a notch from what he regularly gets when he's at CenturyLink. Do you think that's the case tonight? I know I have the game on mute, so I can't really tell.
I'm watching it right now. The atmosphere of CenturyLink's been on a decline for the last few years, man.
Whoa. Let's not forget John Strong came up through Portland radio.
Okay, but
was the Timbers guy.
Okay,
come on. You can't.
No. Hey, let's just call a spade, okay?
No, okay. If I'm saying it, like, what bias do I have? Like, there is no. I think it's come down a notch. I think it's come down a notch. I agree with what John says. I don't think it's as imposing as it used to be.
Definitely not as imposing.
Wait. I was just saying it as a one-game thing. Is this like a trend? Are we saying that the...
I feel like, I don't know. Like, you know how like Atlanta occasionally sells out their 70,000-seat stadium? Or like maybe that's a new shiny toy effect or something like that. I haven't seen Seattle do it in a while. And they used to do that for their big games against Portland, if y'all remember. They haven't done that in a while, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
Because they have too many effing games against Portland. That's why they don't do it anymore, because it's lost its appeal. It's not like this big...
It's like playing USA versus Mexico repeatedly.
No, well, that, or they play Portland, 3 times in an MLS season, and they have to play them in the U.S. Open Cup because they're the regional
they play them
matchup.
twice. No, they play them twice in the MLS season. They play them once at home. And the home game for the Open Cup is at Starfire, which isn't even... So I don't get it. I just don't think that... Like, Seattle's their team is, and the atmosphere and whatever is over there is like, it should be a model, right? Because even after the hype of like the early expansion days has gone down, they still get 30 or 40K, and that's like a damn good number. But compared to old Seattle, man, it's like, look at all the tarps. Did you all see the tarps?
Yeah,
like, I know Roz is actually at the game, the Dallas Seattle game. Maybe you can throw us a tweet and tell us how it sounded over there. Yeah. But I mean, from an outsider's perspective, it looks kind of meh. I don't know.
All right. Well, moving on here. Game did just kick off. We'll keep you posted if something happens, listeners. But guys, we talked about this in our group chat this morning. But here's a headline from World Soccer Talk: MLS TV ratings slump 19% during the regular season. Playoffs take a nosedive. Are we surprised?
I wonder who this is from.
I said World Soccer Talk.
Oh my god.
Take it for what it is. Take it with a grain of salt. Take it with 100 grains of salt. I don't care. Right now, they're the only ones that produce some sort of number. And it's quite interesting. 19% nosedive, Jake.
Yeah, I thought I saw, though, ESPN had a 2% growth, though, in their MLS viewership a week or so ago. So
yeah, you sent that to us.
They pulled a great number for. I think the number is out for Minnesota Galaxy.
Who wrote the World Soccer Talk article? Was it Christopher Harris?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy.
All right, let's get a little tinfoil head going here. All right, put on our tinfoil hats.
Okay, listeners, join us.
I think Christopher Harris runs a European-based soccer blog, right? Or an American soccer blog based upon European soccer. Is that correct? Anybody you read this? You see this? You hear about this?
Yes. No?
Wait,
yes?
What is it?
What is it?
I don't know, but this is what I've been reading on Reddit. I just think that this guy's out for MLS, and he's trying to get the American audience to...
Well, you know how he's out to get to MLS?
Who? But how? Sorry, how?
How? Because he writes in the article, how does MLS fix their TV ratings problem? And guess what comes up? Guess
more people should
what
like soccer
comes
in the U.S.
What?
More people should like soccer in the U.S. I mean, that's how you fix the problem. What
No.
a concept.
No. What concept do you think gets thrown out in this article?
Calendar, promotion, relegation, get
Yep,
rid of the salary cap, Ben Fast, Ted, what's his face?
Ted Uncle?
Ted Uncle. Oh, God, we've gone off the rails on this one already. But no, I mean, it's the same. It's
this
the
guy's
same,
the agenda,
it's the
man.
Same, it's the same BS that all those guys talk about. Oh, if they play, and me and Steven and Arman, we had this argument about the calendar earlier today. Oh, if the calendar was fixed, they'd be able to get bigger names in here or in the league. Really, I don't see how them being on a European-based calendar would then all of a sudden draw an influx of higher quality players wanting to play in MLS. I don't see how promotion and relegation is going to make players magically better. Everyone points to Jamie Vardy. Well, it's like the Jamie Vardy story is like one of like 100,000. Not every player is able to go from like the fifth tier of a league's or of a country's domestic league structure and then wind up as the country's, 2 or 3 best strikers. I don't know. It's all BS. I hate these people.
Well,
move on.
Jake is all about the BS. MLS playoffs dropped 54%. I mean, here's things. The league is growing, right? Expansion. You just had Sacramento. This opening weekend was fantastic. Was it not? Jake Arman, was this not the best opening weekend in MLS playoff history? As far as scorelines, storylines?
Yes.
Maybe MLS is in there, and I said it on one of our preview shows, that, you know what? Playoffs really don't matter because people aren't going to tune in. And you can have spectacular matches. And they did have spectacular matches. And nobody watched. They were going up against college football. MLB playoffs, although I don't think there was a game. Was there a game Saturday? Was that the Astros walk-off?
Yeah.
Yep.
So they were going up against other sports. Guess what? MLS is going up against Thursday Night Football. The World Series is on tonight.
Oh, this RSL Seattle game will pull no numbers.
and never mind. These games are starting at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock on the East Coast.
Although I'm intrigued to see how El Tráfico's ratings do.
Yeah, but that starts
because
even later.
That's gonna be an outlier. I think that's gonna be an outlier, and it's gonna have like a 400K. Could be higher, TBH. But ESPN doesn't even hype up the game, man. Has this game been hyped?
No.
I was at the gym this morning, okay? Believe it or not, I was working out, okay? You wouldn't believe it, even if you saw it. At about 6:30, they did a little promo for it on SportsCenter. So,
AM or PM?
AM.
I mean, who's up at 6 a.m.?
Me. I was working out.
Okay, but before I guess we could start talking about tomorrow's matches if we really want to. But
sorry. Oh, did y'all see that?
I knew it. I knew it.
Jake,
I knew you'd get one of those. I knew
you and I were right. This was bound to happen.
That just got nailed in the head.
All right, what? Arman, focus, buddy, focus.
Dude,
we're live.
I mean, I'm watching this, and I see Lodero just smash his shot, hit the post. Yeah. Like, if we're doing a live comment during a game, let's at least throw a little shout out to the game.
Ooh! I don't even know. Low key, I'm not even watching the game right now.
What was it? Manone scored that one episode?
Yeah, that was during the Houston Minnesota United match in like September. It was after the LAFC win, and I recorded the match, and Arman decided to troll me basically, like, oh, Vito Manone just scored, and that's when I knew that he was BSing me. But he never warned me that United was down 2-0 to Houston, and should have just told me to not watch it. But sometimes you think you know your friends, and other times, they're just a-holes. I don't know where this is going.
Okay, back to MLS TV ratings. LA Galaxy versus LAFC in the playoffs. Jake, I'm sorry. Bye-bye, Minnesota. Everybody wanted the Galaxy to win Sunday night.
Dude, I'm so happy the Galaxy won.
Is this not the biggest game in MLS history?
Whoa, Chief.
No, I'm serious. Dead-ass serious.
Yeah, whoa, Chief. Of course it's the biggest game in MLS history.
Oh, my God.
Come on, Arman. What are you talking about? This is the biggest game in MLS history.
If the TV ratings do not do well,
They're not going to do well because they're starting the match at 9:30 or 9:47 or whatever because that's what they do.
I mean, I agree. But, I mean, is
I'm not saying
MLS
I'm
worried
for it.
about these TV ratings? Do they even care for TV ratings? We talked about in a group chat. There's a lot of NFL mix-over, and the NFL has made a ton of profit with its TV deals. That is how MLB, the NBA, and the NFL makes a lot of its revenue is through TV
That's how
deals.
leagues are supposed to make money. Like,
But MLS doesn't have any revenue coming from TV because nobody's watching. And the question is, the biggest game in MLS history, will it draw people to it? It has superstars. It has true hatred between clubs. It has a history. You have a team that has never won MLS Cup going up against a team that has won the most in MLS. It's a fantastic, sexy match. The question is, will people tune in?
I hope so.
I hope so, baby.
You two suck. Listeners,
I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it.
I'm going to watch it.
oh, we're going to be
I'm not
live.
gonna-
We're doing this all over it again tomorrow, 8:30.
Well, y'all might be live,
Central
but I still
time.
might be taking an exam.
Yeah, you might be live, Steven, but I don't. I mean,
But I'll be taking
I'll
an
do it.
exam.
Jake, you said you're going to be there.
yeah, up till a certain time.
I hope so.
What? Anyway,
Hey, anyway, all I'm saying is, I don't know what I'm saying. This is going to be fun. This match is going to be fun. I don't think it'll get that great ratings.
Who do
because
we have
it's gonna
winning?
be on
Who do we have
so
winning?
late.
Who do we have winning?
I'm
we're not
going
doing
LAFC.
predictions. We're not doing
Too late.
predictions.
Already did it. Too late. LAFC.
Okay, well, I'm going LAFC too, because it's like a story, you know? Like, you have to beat, like, the enemy that, like, you know, has, like, ruined all your life.
Wow.
Like, that's what's going to happen. And they're going to win MLS Cup if that happens. If they lose, then my story's kind of ruined.
Yeah, it's that was just a poor take to begin with. At Unc Sam Soccer Pod, send in your hate mail, your thoughts, your love at Arman Kafai, at Jacob Troba, at Steven Jodrant. We'll be back for our final segment after this. Alrighty, listeners, we are back for our final segment, and some more questions and thoughts getting sent in via our Twitter at UncSamSoccerPod.
Yeah, we'll start with my guy Jonathan Ross here on this Seattle match. The Seattle match had 37,000, and as I can tell you, 36,800 of those fans never sat down the whole match. Maybe as an FC Dallas fan, that is a big deal, so take that paradigm into consideration, but it was one of the most intense MLS games I've ever been to.
Can I just poop all over this for a second?
Yeah, go ahead. Then I got my take.
Okay. Granted, I get it, but this is an FC Dallas fan going to Seattle. Like, the atmospheres at Dallas games suck. So, anything...
Dude, the atmosphere at a high school soccer game is better than one at a FC Dallas game. Come on now.
So this was a natural step up. The question is how, John Strong calls all these big games. Sure. So, granted, I mean, but we got to... Here, we have two compelling competing thoughts here. John Strong on the broadcast said the atmosphere sucked, and then you got one of our listeners, Jonathan Ross, who said no, the atmosphere was great. I know, Jake, you were at the Minnesota match. I can't believe we've missed that.
I was going to tell you about that because I feel like I really can relate to this message by our guy Jonathan here as the only member of this podcast to attend a playoff match this year.
Well, some of us are just not as lucky as you are.
That's my Arman laugh. One of the most intense matches I have ever been to. I shouldn't say like across all sports. That was the most fired up I'd been for a match. I actually wasn't that fired up going into it. I'm like, this is cool, whatever. And then the game started and I was into it. My girlfriend, after the match, goes to me and says, "You were really scary during the match. You were really yelling, like your veins were popping out when you were yelling at the players when they screwed up, and you were swearing a lot and you were flicking people off and stuff like that." I was into it. I got really.
Who are you flipping off?
I can relate. I can relate.
I almost said about. I almost swore. I had to restrain myself.
So, Steven, do you remember the 2015 FC Dallas Seattle playoff series? By any chance?
I do.
Where what was it? Like Teshurak and Deli scored, and then Chad Marshall scored late, and then Walker Zimmerman scored in the 90th minute to send us extra time.
Yeah. I do remember that.
I was at that game, and Jake, I can agree. I was very scary. It was one of the most intense games I've ever gone to. Like, I think it's the nature of MLS playoffs, but it brings out a whole different animal in you.
Well, especially when your team's not playing well or not,
or give up a goal in the 89th minute.
Yeah, or that it just comes over. Something takes over, and you're just it's very primal, if you will.
But how was the atmosphere, Jake? Do you remember, or are you just too mad?
Oh, the atmosphere was great. That was the first time.
Everybody was liquored up.
Well, everyone was. I wasn't liquored up. I actually didn't drink at all that day. Believe it or not. That was the first time I think the supporter section was completely filled before the game even kicked off. Like, it was filled before the national anthem. I think Minnesota United sold more tickets to the supporter section than capacity because we had people just standing in the aisleways, like on the stairs and stuff like that, because they couldn't get into rows. And security, you could tell security just didn't. They might have been informed about that because security just didn't do anything about it. Because you can have like a fire hazard there with just people hanging out in the aisles, or someone falls, they all fall, that whole thing. Yeah, you could just tell it was kind of like, just look the other way, security. This is
supporters section, Jake. You guys were rocking it. The first once the game got kicked off, Armand, do you remember what I texted you guys? It was like, oh my God, this is loud. It seemed like the entire stadium was just singing "When the Loons Go Marching In." I mean, it was fantastic. That gave me chills, man. That's how you sing a national anthem. Right there. The Loons proved to you how to sing a national anthem.
We didn't sing the national anthem.
I know, but just substitute the atmosphere.
I just want to say, as an Arsenal fan, you really do love when your different variation of when the blank go marching in. As a man who hates Spurs, you really do love when the Spurs go marching in, when the Loons go marching in, when the Reds go marching. You love it. You can't get enough of it.
When the Patriots go marching in.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. Yeah,
it doesn't work that way.
Pats go marching in.
All right, delete the account.
I got to get to a really important question, though, that one of our listeners sent in to us. It's from Manny from Austin, and he wants to know who's the best looking out of the three of us.
Should I go? Can I go first?
Yeah, go first.
I think like taking all things into consideration, it's Steven. The cooking, the emphasis on the hair.
Is this like a dating show all of a sudden?
The emphasis on the hair. Like I think I can't put myself because I'm like growing out my hair right now, my facial hair and stuff. I'm trying to grow a nice little beard, look like Jake a little bit. But I think hot take. I gotta go Steven.
Wow.
No pun intended there. With that hot take. Right?
Hot take, Chief.
I don't know what to say. This puts me in a very awkward position. I was gonna say Jake's the best looking one here.
Oh, wow. Whoa. Wow. That puts me in an awkward position because I wanted to be biased and say myself. Now I can't. And now I feel like I gotta say Arman, so I'm gonna say Arman. I think he's got a lot of redeeming qualities about himself, most notably his laugh there.
Yes.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Yes. Guys, wait, Arman, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. We haven't done this. Listeners at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod, we want to hear your thoughts. Real Salt Lake in Seattle. It's 0-0 in the 17th minute. I'm on delay since I'm streaming the match, but so far it's been Seattle has hit the post, so we'll see how the game progresses. Arman, you have any...
Cagey?
Is it cagey?
Has it been cagey?
Spooky?
Yeah, it's pretty fun though. It's fun. I love this camera. Like this camera work is night and day than staring from behind the net.
It is nice not having a net in the way.
Oh my god, dude, can we just talk about that for like a couple more seconds? How embarrassing it is for MLS. That do you imagine being someone that watches Premier League only, a Euro snob, whatever you want to call them, and you're like, hey bro, come watch some MLS with me, and he's like, bro, I will watch some MLS with you. You know what? This one time I will. It's perfect timing.
Little bro date.
And he sits down with his. Well, since a Euro snob, he probably likes IPAs or some shit like that. Oh, sorry.
All right, this is all right, and this is no longer a PG podcast.
He probably likes IPAs or something like that. And he sits down, and you're like, "Wow, isn't it such a great?" He's like, "It's a great atmosphere. The baseball pitch looks terrible, but it looks better than it usually does." And then the net comes in. If I was that Euro snob fan, I would chug my beer and leave.
He paid, yeah. As a former Euro snob,
Yeah, right.
Steven used to be worse.
Yeah, I used to be all. I attended MLS matches back in the day, like 2006. Okay, I was there.
Yeah, you still hated them.
So I still showed up. I still spent my money. I still watched them.
We're happy for you.
Yeah,
but the net thing is an issue, and this Yankee Stadium playing on a baseball stadium.
They need a stadium, man. I know, apparently it's taking a lot of work or whatever, but they need a stadium, man. They need a stadium.
Not to cut you guys off here, but one final thought from our guy Jonathan in regards to being in Seattle for that playoff match. He says that was his third match at CenturyLink Field, so he has at least some
experience.
He's a traveler.
Yeah, he's an experienced away fan, okay?
Wow.
Especially in Seattle.
That is hardcore, man.
He loves Sleepless in Seattle. He loves going to Sounders matches as an FC Dallas fan.
Wow, that's some dedication. Arman, I'm putting you on the spot. Let's get 2 stars and 1 catfish from the opening weekend in Major League Soccer playoffs.
All right, let's do it. Star number 1, Jordan Morris, 3 goals. Come on. Can you say anything else about him? He was amazing, and honestly, he was
his first ever hat trick.
First hat trick. Yeah, I mean, he was truly a joy to watch. Oh man, my second one. Can I jump to the catfish? Let me jump to the catfish.
No,
real quick.
You need a second star.
Yeah, but I want to catfish you first before I hit you the star. I'm gonna go Minnesota United. They had the game, guys. We talk about it. I would be so pissed if I was a Minnesota United fan and at that game cheering in the supporting section, swearing and having veins pop out of my neck. I would be so mad because they had that game. It wasn't like they played badly. I don't know, man. It was a kind of disappointing result. And my final star, congratulations, Philadelphia Union first ever playoff victory in franchise history with a gritty 4-3 win. That's a star right there. Marco Fabian at the weird goal to seal it, but that's a star right there. But let's go back to that sucker, guys. What I've been saying about Adrian Heath and the Loons, they were pretenders. Me and Steven aren't surprised, but our friend in Minnesota might be.
They should have won that match.
They should have won that game.
They should
Nope.
have won that game.
MLS rigged it. That way they didn't. And I'm being tongue-in-cheek there. First of all, MLS did not want Minnesota to win. Great atmosphere, great stadium, fine. But they were desperate for that LAFC, LA Galaxy playoff match. Secondly, yeah, Minnesota had it there. Fine, that's a catfish. But it's playoffs. And in playoffs, you need players to step up and take those chances. I mean, Jake, not to get carried away here, but it looks like Minnesota United need a scoring option here in this upcoming offseason if they actually want to be a viable contender come next year.
I mean, if Robin Lod buries that chance right on top of the penalty spot there in about the 25th minute or so, that's a completely different game. That was like the perfect opportunity to really rattle the Galaxy, and they never capitalized on that. And they had a couple other chances too. And yeah, I think the MLS got the matchup they want. So that's great for them. We'll see if it produces another magnificent, 3-3 game, or you have one team go up 3-0 and then the other team charges back, like we saw in the first ever meeting between the Galaxy and LAFC. I'm gonna find it very funny though if this is like a very defensive-minded match and it's like 1-0 LAFC.
There's no chance that comes about.
I'm just saying.
Zlatan 2 goals.
Ooh, hot takes. Listeners, we'll be live tomorrow, same time, 8:30 Central Time.
Hopefully I'll be there.
Hopefully Arman's going to be there. We'll be recapping Atlanta versus the Philadelphia Union. We actually have special guests. The special guest going to be joining us. And then we'll be leading you up to LAFC versus LA Galaxy.
Maybe a special guest is joining us.
Depending on
the Atlanta-Philadelphia match.
Yeah. Arman, last 10 seconds here. Who's got the advantage in the Atlanta Union game?
The Union. Shocker.
Alrighty. Until next time, listeners.